past me, younger me, not developed me, carried so many things because the more I carried, the more it showed outwardly that I cared. And now the less I carry, the less I worry about what others think because I'm taking care of me.
We are represented. We are represented. We are represented.
Welcome to Represented, the podcast. I'm Aniki Shuru, racial equity coach for online business owners who want to be intentionally inclusive by building a business that is racially equitable. I created this podcast to normalize a conversation around racial inclusion so that fear is no longer the barrier that gets in the way of doing this work. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Whether you're taking your first steps or you're well-versed in the journey towards racial equity, this space is for you. So welcome home, friend. Let's get started.
From coast to coast, around the globe, we are represented.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Represented Podcast. I am so happy to have you here with me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm just going to take a deep breath. It's been a big, long week. And exhale. Lately, I've been noticing a heaviness in the air. I've noticed it in conversations just with friends within my African community, with clients as well, and even within myself. And I don't think it's because people have stopped caring per se, but because caring has started to feel heavy. It's a weight that we're carrying around. And I also don't know it's because we are approaching the end of the year and there's just that fatigue that can set in. So if you've been showing up for inclusion work with sincerity and your heart feels a little weary, let's talk about that today. Because what you're feeling doesn't mean you've lost your way. And I wish somebody was there to tell me that when I felt in different seasons fatigued by this work. It just means your heart has been fully in it. And I feel so privileged to be able to share that with you so that you can have a path forward. You know, when we start this journey toward inclusion, we started with such good intentions. We want to hold safer space, do better by our clients, create a business that reflects our values. But somewhere along the way, doing good starts to feel heavy. The energy, it just dips. The inspiration fades, and the work that once felt hopeful, inspiring, motivating, it starts to feel like carrying a weight you can't quite put down. It's like a backpack. So, my friend, if you felt that lately, I have felt that too. And today I want to talk to you about that heaviness and what that heaviness really is, why it's showing up, and how you can keep doing this work without losing yourself in it. I don't know if you're familiar with Brené Brown's work. If you're not, this is a good introduction into her work as a researcher, because what she shares often touches on things that we potentially haven't had language for. And she just paints a picture, gives us a map, and it just feels like I now have language and so much more understanding. You feel wiser. And so she writes in her book, Atlas of the Heart, that language shows us that naming an experience gives us the power of understanding and meaning. Most of us have been taught to label everything, and we use simple definitions like tired or overwhelmed. But when it comes to inclusion work, that naming and labeling simply doesn't tell the whole story. Maybe what you're feeling is compassion fatigue, that emotional depletion that comes from caring deeply without enough restoration. And perhaps it's what you're seeing around the world as well. Or maybe it's disillusionment, when the gap between the world you want and the one you see starts to feel too wide. I know I've actually felt that emotion regularly. It could also be grief, grieving the loss of innocence, the loss of unawareness, or the loss of relationships that couldn't hold the weight of your growth. When we can name what we are feeling, we can respond with a deeper understanding. Without that language, we just call it burnout and try to push through. I don't know if you've gone through something where you're like, it's burnout. I'm experiencing burnout. And we're just labeling any form of fatigue, personally, professionally, being burnout. But what if it's more than that? What I'm coming to learn is that inclusion work touches something far deeper than strategy or marketing does. It really does call us to examine our values, our unconscious patterns, and the systems that have shaped who we are. I'm realizing it's not just professional, it's personal, sometimes even spiritual. That's why the exhaustion can feel bone deep, because this work doesn't just ask you to do differently, it asks you to be different. And then there's the context we're living in right now. Across the global north, there's been a growing backlash against DEI and anti-racism work. Power is trying to rebrand inclusion as division, labeling it as unfair advantage, and in some cases, even penalizing those who remain committed. I know colleagues and peers who've lost contracts. Some have been uninvited from panels because their work is now considered too political, too threatening. And so, if your heart feels heavier as an online business owner than it did a few years ago, there's a reason for it. The environment has shifted. And yet, as I ponder and think about this a little bit more, when I think of Brené Brown's work, this is what she calls brave leadership. Doing inclusion work is leadership work. It's not separate or nice to have, which through speaking with my students, a lot of the times, most of the times, they separate this work of inclusion. It's something separate. Their business is their business. The goals that they have, the strategies, the marketing, business is business. But when it comes to inclusion work, it's a separate entity, and it really shouldn't. It's central. And when doing it feels heavy, you're actually doing the kind of leadership Brené Brown talks about, one that is brave, relational, and sustainable. Because if there's one thing that's been under attack that we've seen, is that a lot of online business owners who ventured into this work perhaps for the first time 5 years ago haven't been able to sustain. It's a brave work, this inclusion work is brave work because it goes against the current. It's relational because it holds connection over comfort. And it's sustainable because it's built on integrity and not the approval of others. And that one is big and huge just to take that in order for this work to be sustainable. It's not built on what others think or wanting to get their applause or their thumbs up. It's built on integrity, your values. That should be your compass. That should be your guiding. That should be your North Star. One of the reasons this work drains us is that many of us confuse empathy with compassion. Now, I've had Brené explain that empathy is feeling with someone, stepping inside their experience. It's a powerful feeling, but if we stay there too long without boundaries, it can lead to overwhelm. We start to absorb pain instead of accompanying it. Compassion, on the other hand, adds wisdom. It's saying, I see your pain. I'm willing to stay present and take appropriate action, but I won't drown with you. Ooh, is that not powerful? Empathy without boundaries can become self-destruction, disguised as care. Compassion allows care to become sustainable. So if you've been feeling heavy, it might be time to shift from that posture of empathy to compassion, to move from feeling it all to holding what's yours to hold, what you have the capacity to hold. Compassion invites us back to equilibrium, some kind of balance. It reminds us that reflection is also action, and rest is also resistance. A lot of times when we have to reflect on something, it feels like we're not doing anything. Like we need to be moving, we need to be making all the big moves, but we don't have the energy to make the big moves because we feel fatigued. But know that reflection is in itself an action, and rest is also resistance. We're resisting the systems that have told us we have to be switched on, we have to be busy, and we have to go, go, go all the time. It is not sustainable. So, I want to share 4 ways to stay rooted in compassion. Number 1, and we know these things theoretically, but practically to put them into practice, really, really hard. And sometimes it takes hearing things over and over and over again for us to move and take the necessary action that we need to. So, number 1, pause regularly. Step away from the noise and reconnect with why you began this journey. What I've found myself doing a lot more of since I came back home from Kenya in July, I spent all of July in Kenya. And during that period of time, I was off online. Like I was off social media, did not spend time there scrolling or everything that involves showing up, posting, engaging. I didn't do any of that. And what I found is that when I returned, I almost got sucked back into, the same cycle of social media. But what I found is that I am slowly but surely pulling away, sharing when I absolutely feel it is necessary to share, when I have something to share. It's not that I didn't have things to share before, but there was a feeling of I need to, I have to. If I don't, then it probably sends a message that I'm not still here. And of course I am, but I am learning to lean more on the things that are nourishing me, particularly in this season when this work feels heavy. So pause regularly. Number two, name what's yours to carry. And this is something that has taken a maturity, a maturing, coming of age to get to. Name what's yours to carry. You can't fix everything. And theoretically, we know that, but we tend to carry things. I want you to remember you can lead faithfully within your sphere of influence. We can't carry everything. And I think past me, younger me, not developed me, carried so many things because the more I carried, the more it showed outwardly that I cared. And now the less I carry, the less I worry about what others think because I'm taking care of me. Nobody is coming to rescue me and save me. I've got to take care of me. And so I'm naming what's mine to carry and what I have the capacity to carry. Number three, and this one is such an important one, and one that I see grows with time. Ground yourself in community. The work was never meant to be done alone. So community could look differently. You don't have to be in a paid group where you're all learning together. It's great and it brings incredible benefits. But community could be your loved ones, your family, people who you're talking about this work with. It could be the way you're bringing up your children. Currently, right now, the group of online business owners I'm supporting, they're just incredible human beings. And the stories that are emerging about their children and how they are learning from their children about racial equity, the boldness that their children have, and just whom they're bringing up for the next generation is beautiful to watch. And so that in itself is community. And it's a great, great way to ground yourself. And then number four, it's fairly simple, but again, putting it into practice may not be as easy. And that is keep perspective. Every act of inclusion, every client you hold with care ripples out further than you realize. Think about the people that you hold space for. It might be your clients, it might be loved ones, it might be friends, family, school moms, your kids' friends. Think about it. Every act of inclusion, and inclusion extends to really it's human work. It's about belonging. And there are elements to it about that bring about healing. The byproduct of doing this work is deeply healing. And so every act of inclusion, every client you hold with care, every human in your space that you hold with care, there are ripples that go out further than you could ever imagine. So keep perspective. And when the world starts labeling fairness as bias, hold steady. I've learned to just hold steady. Your consistency in living your values is what actually sets you apart. That's your leadership. Don't try and do it like somebody else. And as it gets louder and louder out there, and you're hearing more and more ridiculous things, turn it off. Simply turn it off. Because when you're able to turn off, you're able to keep perspective and It also contributes to pausing regularly. It allows you to just carry what you have the capacity to carry because you're not hearing from different sources that are depleting you. And you can come back home to yourself, grounding yourself in community. And that becomes your signature, it becomes your leadership. So maybe the question isn't, how do I stop feeling heavy? Maybe it's, what is this heaviness teaching me? I don't know if you're big on journaling. I don't know if you're somebody who sits down with your thoughts and you reflect. I do. If you've been a long-time listener of this podcast, you know that I love to journal. And my style of journaling initially, yes, was writing it down. And I still do love the idea of writing down. But there's something about the quickness of getting onto my notes app on my phone and just being able to type out or just speak it out, uh, and just share what I'm feeling in that moment, reflect on that, and then come back again and see it and remind myself, what was it that I said? So, in this moment of the fatigue that you're potentially feeling with this work that has shifted and changed, and the environment is so different. And you know what? I think it's good that we go through this testing times because it tests our resilience. If we're still where we were 5 years ago, where the hunger for this work is still so high and deep, obviously it would have an impact on educators like myself from a sustainability perspective. But also, this is when we get tested. Like, was that just a moment in time? Or is this work that is truly important to us, meaningful enough? Will we be able to stand the test of time? And so, what is this heaviness teaching me? And I'm coming back to empathy. Perhaps it's showing you where your empathy needs boundaries, where your compassion needs potentially to be replenished, or where your leadership is being forged in the fire of resistance. Take a deep breath with me. Exhale. And again, I wish this is something that somebody told me. Annie, you're not failing because you feel tired. You're feeling tired because this work, oh my gosh, this work matters to you and your body is feeling dysregulated. Maybe what's needed now isn't to try harder, but to care differently. Notice the way I mentioned, I'm just doing things differently. I don't need to be switched on all the time. I don't need to be on social media as much as I used to be. I'm just caring differently, to be quite honest, to replace the exhaustion with a gentleness. It doesn't have to be go, 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 even when you're exhausted. The guilt that you feel from taking a break, how about you replace that with grace and empathy, with compassion? And last week I spoke about self-compassion. If you haven't listened to that episode, which is really centered around the fear of getting it wrong when it comes to inclusion work, go back and listen to that. But this is just an invitation to care differently. And I know a lot of this is easy said than done. But sometimes when our back is against the wall and we're carrying so much, it is important for us to begin to pay attention and to move towards the things that will replenish us rather than the things that will deplete us. Now, in our next episode, I want us to go deeper into this idea. the difference between empathy and compassion, because this is a conversation that I've been having with my participants inside Represented currently. And it's something that we keep coming back to, compassion. Why is compassion the key to sustainable inclusion work for heart-led space holders? Until then, my friend, be kind to yourself. Remember, and I remind myself this too, you're doing brave, necessary human work. And even when it feels heavy, remember you're not carrying it alone. There are others in the trenches too. I'm in there. You just don't know that there are others who are in there too. And perhaps, just maybe, community is what you need. And I know I mentioned that community takes different forms. As a community that is your family, your friends, your loved ones. But I also want to plant this seed here for you, that maybe you need a space to be with other like-hearted online business owners who inclusion work is part of their value system. It's not a separate entity, it's part of who they are. And so I would love to invite you to check out my 10-week program, Represented. And if it tugs on your heart, join the waitlist for the next round in April 2026. Head on over to anikishuru.com/represented. That link is in the show notes.
We are represented. We are represented. We are represented.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave a review so this podcast can reach more online business owners, and together we can begin to normalize racial inclusion in the online coaching space. I'd love to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where this podcast episode was recorded, the Wiradjuri people in central New South Wales, Australia. Music produced in Nairobi, Kenya by Patrick St. P. Mbaru and Kambua Mathu. Vocals by Joanne Matata.
Represented.